Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube to Just Daf It. Daf Yom Share. We're learning Kesubos Samach Dollars today. We have a great share for you today. We're going to be talking, starting a new Mishnah today on Amud Beis, where we're discussing exactly the specifications of how much food a man has to give his wife. Seems the case is talking about where the husband's not home. He's on vacation, he's traveling. They're separated. Different opinions in the Rishonim, and Ian with Ben Sion will talk more about exactly the nature of the case in the Mishnah. It's kind of a weird case. Let's get started. The bottom of Samach Gimel Beis 63b, 5 lines from the bottom. Kalze de Razvid Imrida. The daughter-in-law Razvid, she rebelled against her husband. She refused to have sex with her husband. How about Tvisa Chadshira? She held on to one silk robe that her husband had gave to her. Yosef Amemor Marzusha Rav Ashi, Yosef Rav Gamda Gabayo. They all sat down. The following Rabbonim. Rav Gamda sat down next to him. Yosef Hamri Merda Hefsida Blosech Yamin. The three Rabbonim said the halacha is that if she rebels against her husband, she not only loses her ksuba, which we learned, she also loses her blosech hayamin, which I believe the next Mishnah talks about that even though the husband has to provide for her clothing, right? He provides the warm clothing in the winter, and then in the summer it's worn out partially. She wears it in the summer. After the summer's over, he has to buy her new clothing for the next winter. She gets to keep the old clothing, so she lost that also. She loses that silk robe. I don't know Rav Gam, the Mishnah Razvid Gavar Rabba Machnifisule, because he's a big rabbi. You're gonna patronize him. You're gonna just do what he wants for it. He's obviously the father of the son who his wife rebelled against. Rav Rava had the same shaila whether she loses it or not. He didn't even answer the questions. How can you be makel for your son, for Rav Zvid's son? Ikad Amri, an alternative version of this episode. Yasi v'kamri mer de lo yafsiya b'lo se'ah kayavin. The Rabbanim were saying she doesn't lose the silk robe. I don't know who Rav Gam said to them. Top of Samach Dalam and Aleph. Mishum Razvid Gav Rabbahu Afchisu Leiladina. You love it because he's a big rabbi and he's a humble person. He's not going to protest. You turn the halacha against him. Are you so sure about that? Amar Rav Kahan. Rava wasn't sure does she lose it or not. So the Gemara concludes, the Gemara doesn't able to conclude whether she loses it or not. If she grabbed it and she held on to it before the marriage, before she rebelled, she had it in her closet, let's say. So, lo mafkina, we don't remove it from her. The suffix hamotzi mechaver al varaya. If you want to take it from somebody, you have to bring a proof. Lo tafsa lo yavin Allah. If she didn't grab it, so then it would belong. She's not entitled to keep it because technically it came from the money of the husband. Besides all the other punishments we give her, we make her wait, even though she's going to get a get. Should we make her wait 12 months before she gets that get? Even though normally a woman who is married to a man get her mazonos from her husband, she would not get during those 12 months food from her husband. Amar Rav Tuvi Bar Kisna, Amar Shmuel, Kosvin Geras married al Arusa. Vein Kosvin Geras married al Shemeres Yavam. Shmuel says the following, that an Arusa, like we had the Brisa, if she rebels, now Arusa is not married, she's not going to rebel against Tashmish because technically Midrabanan, you're not supposed to have relations before you're married, but she agreed to get engaged, and now she is backing out. She's got cold feet. She doesn't want to go through with the marriage. So you write Nigeris merit because technically an Arusa gets a Kesubos. So you write Nigeris merit that according to the Mishnah she loses money every week, or the other opinion in the Gemara is that she loses right away after we make the proclamation in the shuls and the base medrash. But you don't write Igeris Meral Shemeres Yavam. Mesives. The Gemara says, is this possible? In all the cases, even Shemeres Yavam, right? Shemeres Yavam, the cases where she doesn't want to go through with the Yibam. The Yavam wants to do Yibam, or Chalitza, we'll see, and she doesn't want, she's protesting. And there's low kasha. If he wants to do it by Shemeres Yavam, he wants to, so then we write Igeris Merit. If he doesn't want to do it, and she wants to do Yibam, so we don't write. That's what Shmuel said. We don't write Igeris married because it's his mitzvah, not hers. The Amarav Tachli Barvim Shmuel Tavahu and his kakinlo. If he demands a yibum, we turn to basin. Basin enforces their policy. Tava, he ain't his in law. If she wants to do yibum and the man hasn't made a decision yet, or he's pushing for chalitza, so we don't turn to her case. We don't assist her. But my okimta lahad Shmuel. So what do we establish Shmuel's teaching? Mishatava he's talking about where she desires to have a yibum. High kosin years married al rusa le rusa mibaye. If we're talking about the perspective of her, right? So the ratio of Shmuel, the first part of Shmuel's teaching, where close to Nigeris Mer al Arusa should be for the Arusa. She's the one demanding to go through with, and he's the one who's getting cold feet. So Marzalokash, Tani La Arusa, just amend the Lashon of the Brisa to write Le Arusa, not Al Arusa. So Marzmashna Shemer Yavam Lo. Shemer Yavam you don't write. Amrina Lazil Lo Mefkadat, right? You're not Mtuva in the mitzvah of Yibum, so it's not up to you, right? Arusa Nami name Lazil Lo Mefkadat. You're not Mtuva in the mitzvah of Pruvu to get married. He's doing. Ella Baba Machmas Taina. No, we're talking about she's coming. She has a Taina. She verbalizes this. She says, "I'm Rabbeinu Chutzal Yado Mar Lakur." The reason I want to get married, I want to have children, even though technically I'm not Masuva in Period Rivia, but I have a monetary claim to wanting to have children because I want when I get old, I want my kids to take care of me, to be my cane, to help me walk, and to push my wheelchair, Mar Lakfura, and I want people to bury me, to give me a normal burial. How can I be Shomeres Yavam about Machmas Taina? So you can say the same thing to Shomeres Yavam. She wants to get married because she wants to have at least this Yavam be her husband and produce children that are going to take care of her in old age. The Gemara retracts. Really, both cases, both the Brisa and Shmuel, we're talking about where the man demands the Yibam or the Iris or the Nisuin. Lo kasha kan lachlos kan liyabim. Right? If the man is demanding a Yibam, so then right we force her to do it. If he's demanding chalitza, we don't force him to do it. Sorry, the exact opposite. If he wants chalitza, then we attend to it. If he wants to yibam, then we don't attend to him. We don't write a geras married. Right? If he wants to yibam, she doesn't want to, so we say go marry a different woman. Right? A man can marry more than one woman. Even before he does chalitza. Lachlotz nami namely zil nasiv isachrisa. If he demands chalitza and she doesn't want to participate, you could say also go marry somebody else. El damar came in agida be lo kayabu liachrisa. You say no one's going to marry me. I have this other woman that is pending chalitza or yibam. Right? Most women want to marry their own husband, not another man that is connected to another woman, unless he's a special man. So. That's the shidduch crisis. Everyone talks about the shidduch crisis and how terrible it is that so many girls that are waiting for a shidduch. There seem to be so few boys, always more boys than girls. People have offered different solutions. There was a while where they kept on having this ad run in Mishpacha magazine. Are you 21? Are you a boy? Are you thinking about getting married? Maybe that's the right age. Ask your Rav. You might be ready at 21, because they figure if you get married at 21, so then you'll marry someone of comparable age. If you get married at 24, which is a lot of people wait till at 23, 24 to start dating, so then you take all the younger girls out, and there's too much competition. Why is it that there's more boys than girls? I mean, there's always fewer good boys than all the girls are great. All the boys are not so good. So, I mean, the simple answer is that there's very few boys who fit into the category of being really stark, really frum, yet being able to have a great time, having a fun time with the wife. Somehow you're able to balance that. I don't think there's really anyone out there. If he's able to have a fun time, he's probably not so stark. If he's really stark, he's probably not able to have a good time. I don't think there are really too many people out there like that. But on a deeper level, it's really because, really men supposed to be married, could technically be married to more than one woman, if they're good enough, right? It's very hard to find a good man. I just talk about learning with the yeshiva. It's very hard to find a good man who's a real man who can attract women. Most women are not attracted to most men, even if the man's good looking, even if the man has a lot of money, has a nice car. Women don't run after men. You have to have a special personality. That's what they run after, the personality, the confidence, and being cool. Confidence, and even more important, being cool. Very few men like that. There's other things also that are important, like dressing well, good looking also plays a part. Financial aspirations. Has a good financial plan. That's important also. But the personality is the main thing, and most men don't have that. And also being able to bear the responsibility. A person who takes responsibility over the marriage is a real man. Tells the woman what to do. He speaks down to the woman. You don't kiss up to women. You speak down to them. They like it. They like it like that. If you kiss up to the woman, and she's the queen, and you're the butler. If you want a queen, you got to be a king. So, anyway, so that's the point. The point is that really men should be allowed to marry more than one woman, if they're qualified or not. And that's why there's no shidduch crisis, right? A good man should have not just one wife; he should have more than one wife. He should have multiple wives. We can handle them. Most people can handle even one wife. But anyway, that's the real, really what's going on, not just in the Jewish world, but in the world at large, where monogamy is really the only option, unless you're from an Arab nation. So the Gemara says, so came on that gida be lo kayav liachrisi. Since I have another wife tied to me, they're not going to give me. Hakanami kevus. The Gemara says hakanami came on that gida be lo kayav liachrisi. Even if it's for right yibum also, right, both for yibum and chalitza, right, he's still stuck with this other woman. They're not going to give him someone, so it shouldn't make a difference. Both cases are talking about he wants to do yibum. One opinion, the Brisa and Shmuel, one of them is like the Mishnah Rishon, one of the Mishnah Achrona. This not Mrs. Yibum kodemas Mrs. Chalitza, right? Originally, you're supposed to do yibum for chalitza. But Rishona shum miskavim l'shum mitzvah. Originally, when they did yibum, they're mekavim for the mitzvah of yibum. To mekayim zera la'achiv. Achshav shem miskavim l'shum mitzvah. Amru Mrs. Chalitza kodemas mitzvahs yibum. So when Shmuel said you don't write a geras merid for a yishomeres yavam, that's talking about he wants to do yibum. But it's talking about the Mishnah Achrona, because we don't recommend doing yibum, so we don't write a geras merid. Marriage is allowed to be mored because that's not the right thing to do. And the Brisa, which says you do write a geras merid, that's talking about Mishnah Rishona, where technically the mitzvah is to do yibum. Now, one day it'll go back to the mitzvah as yibum. We'll have the right kavanah. We'll know what the right kavanah is. Not supposed what the right kavanah is. Until when does he deduct from our ksuva? My tarpikin. So we had a machlokas. Rabbi Yehuda says you deduct tarpikin, you add tarpikin. What are tarpikin? I'm going to show you just astira, kon kol astira, vakam astira, paga de zuzah. It's really just half of the zuz. Zuz is a dinar. It's the same thing. So Tanakama said a zuz, one zuz, and per day. So 7 days, 7 zuzim. He says a half of a zuz is tashlosh. So zayin tarpikin, 7 tarpikin, is basically half of zayin dinarim or zayin zuzim. Tanya namihach writes like Yehuda Omer shlosha tarpikin shein teisha moin. 3 tarpikin, meaning if she's moredes, you add on to his ksuva 3 tarpikin. Shein teisha if she's rebelling, if he's rebelling, so you add on to her ksuva 3 tarpikin shein teisha moin, which is 9 maos. Ma v'chetzi l'chol yom. Right, so a tarpikin consists, each chatzi dinar consists of 3 ma, basically 6 ma in a dinar and a zuz. So therefore, every day is ma v'chetzi l'chol yom. Amar le Rabbi Chia bar Yosef l'shmuel ma'ishna iyu di avina le the Shabbos, ma'ishna iyu lo yavina la the Shabbos. Right, when he rebels, right, so you have to add on to his ksuva. You don't give her Shabbos, you only give her 6 days. Him, you give. If she rebels, so you deduct from her ksuva for all 7 days. So the Eid mifchas kapachis, for her, you're deducting from the ksuva, lo mifchas skar Shabbos. Skar Shabbos when you earn money, so it doesn't look like skar Shabbos. Eid osifa kamosva, you're adding onto the ksuva, right? If he rebels, you're adding onto the ksuva, mifchas skar Shabbos, it looks like skar Shabbos, therefore we don't give her extra money for the rebellion on Shabbos itself. I'm Rabbi Chia bar Yosef, the Shmuel, might be mored the moredas. What's the reason mored moredas, right? If she's rebelling, right, she loses a zuz a day, right? 7 zuzim for a week. He rebels, you only add 3. It's like half. Amar lei say laman mishuk shel zanos mi socheres me, right? Who needs to be together more? A man. Most men are hiring women, prostitutes. There's not so many women hiring male escorts. Davar acher, another reason, a male, his his aver sticks out. He could have an erection, according to Art Scroll, he says. So it's embarrassing for him. A woman, when she gets aroused, she's in dire straits. She needs to have sex, so you can't tell on her body. It's not embarrassing for her. I would say, just add on to that, meaning a man, if he's not able to be together with a woman, he might masturbate and it has to come outside, and that's embarrassing. It can get people can see it or whatever. A woman, if she masturbates, there's no evidence that she masturbated. Number is the Mishnah. Hamasha is isha alidei shlish. Weird Mishnah. Apparently, the situation is the husband's not around. He says, "You stay in the house," or Tom Brady with Giselle. How do you pronounce her last name? Bunchin or whatever. She's in Costa Rica. He has to provide for her Mizonos, even though she makes more money than him. She's in Costa Rica. He's in Tampa. Masha Isa Alidei Shlish. He leaves his wife Alidei Shlish. Lo Yifchos Lam Mishnei Kabin Chitin. A Shlish is a third party who is providing for her Mizonos. Well, see, not just Mizonos, her clothing also. So he has to give her at least Shnei Kabin Chitin, 2 measures of chitin. A kav equals 24 eggs worth of chitin, about 48 eggs worth of chitin. We're about kav and soren. If he doesn't want to give her wheat, he can give her barley. If he has to double it, Amar Biyosi, lo pasuk la soren, la Rabbi Shmuel sheyasamach la'adom. Seemingly, Rabbi Shmuel was the only one who allowed you to give barley because he lived next to Edom. It doesn't really make sense. The Gemara will explain it. In addition to that, he gives her 12 eggs worth of beans, v'chatzi log shemen, half a log of shemen. The kav grogros, kav is 24 eggs worth of grogros of dried figs, a mana devela, or mana, which is a weight, 100 coins of devela. He doesn't have figs or dry figs. He gives her a different type of fruit. He gives her a bed, mapats, a soft mattress. Machatzel is a hard mattress. He buys her some nice tickles. A tickle is one tickle. A nice belt. For a gamo belt, menalim memoed lamoed. I'm joking, not for a gamo. Menalim memoed lamoed. He buys her nice shoes every moed, every 3 pairs of shoes a year, right? There's Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuos. So he gets her every moed. She gets a new pair of shoes. V'kelim shal chamishim zuz mishana l'shana. She gets a new dress, right? It costs 50 zuz every year. Ve'ein nosin la lo chadashim osachama v'lo shchakim osagasham. The clothes and the shoes, he has to give the new ones during the winter. He doesn't give the new ones in the summer. He gives her in the winter. But he miskaseh saying she covers herself with the worn out clothes, the worn out shoes during the summer. After the year is over, she gets new clothes. She gets to keep the old ones. In addition to this, he's supposed to give a makesef, a small amount of money, pocket change. She'll be able to buy certain small things that she needs. She gets, even though he's away, he has to come and have a meal with her on Friday night, not necessarily during Shabbos day or Shalosh. He doesn't give a Malkesef l'Tzorcha. This is one of the opinions of Rabbi Barabo, who says the Malkesef was in place of the Maaseh Adayim. Doesn't give her the Malkesef. She gets to keep her wages. What is she responsible? One of the malachos that the Isha does. She's the Osa B'Semer. How much is she responsible to earn for her husband? Apparently, even when the husband's not around, she has to provide wages for their marriage. The amount of, it's a weight of 5 silver coins of Shesi Yehuda, which is the warp in Yehuda. And Galil, right, there's more inflation. It's basically 10, it's double in Galil. Mishka Esher Slaim Erev Yehuda, the weft in Yehuda. I don't think it really means warp and weft. Warp and weft are the two different rows. When the plain weave, you have one is running across, one is running vertically. The point of the warp and the weft is that there's different types of weaves. I would say that the plain weave, which is basically one warp to one weft ratio, so that would be the warp, would be the main thing. And then there's other weaves. You have the denim weave, and you have the sateen weave, where it's more focused on the weft. Mishkal Eser Sloim Erev Yehuda Shein Eshem Sloim Magalil. It's you have to give more, right? It's a cheaper fabric. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe the plain weave is the cheaper one, where the weft is more in focus, and the warp, right? I think the denim weave is it's 2-to-1 ratio. It's like a diagonal, and sateen is a 4-to-1. Those are the three main types of weave. It's 4-to-1 ratio of the warp to the weft. Erev is the weft. Shahin Eshem Slim gold. Again, everything in gold. There was a high inflation. It was double the price. Maisa Menika Polksin Lam and Maisi Adev. She is nursing. You give her. She doesn't have to provide as much wages. And Mosivin Lam was in Ostel. Still, you have to give her even more food because she needs extra for the baby. All these measurements in this Mishnah are talking about when the man is a very poor person. If he's a very rich person, right? So there he has to provide her more according to his status. We'll talk more about this. Maybe the whole din of only applies when they're together. When they're not together, that's why it doesn't say if she's mechubed. It's only if he's mechubed. She's mechubed. It doesn't make a difference. He only has to provide these things. I'm going to offer a new shot in this Mishnah. It's not talking about where the husband and wife are separated, really. Because technically, you can't just leave your wife. I mean, we talked about how long you can leave your wife for, but in general, you have to be with your wife. And whereas Mani Masdisen, who is our Mishnah? If you're not with your wife, you're separated, you're almost divorced. All right, the Gemara is Mani Masdisen. Who's our Mishnah? Like Lo Rabbi Yochanan and Brocha, Lo Rabbi Shimon. Not like Yochanan and Brocha, not like Rabbi Shimon. That's not. This is a Mishnah in Mesachas Eruvin. Makama Shiuro Mazon Shtei Seudos. When you make an Erev Tchumen, they measured it. That has to be 2 meals, right? Be able to stay in a place to be koveya, to establish that as your new place. They have to have 2 meals, where you have 2 meals of Shabbos. Shiro Mazon Shtei Seudos Chol Echad VeEchad. The amount of 2 meals, the bread you would eat with 2 meals for each person that you're establishing the Erev Tchum for. Mizono L'chol V'lo L'Shabbos. Every Meir says it's the amount of bread you'd eat at a meal during the week and not on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda Omer L'Shabbos L'chol, the amount of bread you'd eat on Shabbos, not during the week. Because every time it's Kavan L'Hakel, both of the Meir and Rabbi Yehuda were going L'Hakel, right? Rabbi Meir says you give during the week. He felt that during the week you eat less bread. On Shabbos you have a bigger appetite. On Shabbos you have more bread. Rabbi Yehuda says no, on Shabbos you eat less bread because you have more courses. You don't eat too much bread. Rabbi Yochanan Brocha, a third opinion, Omer Kikar L'Koch and Punyam Arav selling the seller. He gives a definitive amount. He says it doesn't matter how much you personally eat. He says basically a loaf of bread that's purchased with a punjon when Arba Soin costs a seller. Now it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what he means, but basically a loaf of bread contains 2 meals, even one. So it's basically half a loaf of bread. I'm going to make the math easy for you because it's hard to figure out. Arba Soin Lasella is a weight. Arba Soin Lasella. Basically, it means that each loaf is basically 12 eggs. Rabbi Shimon Omer, each loaf is 12. A loaf of bread is. It's 12 eggs. A loaf of bread is 12 eggs. Now, 12 eggs is half a cob, right? A cob is 24 eggs. So 12 eggs equals 1 loaf. And in 1 loaf, you have 2 meals. So therefore, each meal is 6 eggs, which is 1/4 of a cob. 6 eggs for a meal. Meaning the amount of bread that's baked, or that's equivalent to the amount of 6 eggs. He says a different measurement: 2/3 of a kikar, of a loaf, mishalosh kikaros the kav, 3 loaves in a kav. Now 3 loaves in a kav is 24 eggs. So if you take 3 loaves in there, so that each loaf is 8, and then 2/3 of that 8 is 2/3 of that 8 is basically you have each loaf is 8 eggs, and 2/3 is 2 meals, so each meal is 1/3. Basically, it comes out to 1/9 of a. I'm getting a little confused here. 1/9 of a kav. 1/9 of a kav equals 1 meal, and 2/9 of a kav equals 2 meals. Chetzil lebeis hamenuga. Right, half of this measurements. For Erev Tchumen, this loaf for Erev Tchumen, half of that is the measurement for Beis HaMenuga. Beis HaMenuga is basically if you go into a house that has saras, right? If you go in, you have to wait the amount of time that it takes to eat a specific amount of bread, and the amount of bread is half of these measurements. According to his measurement of a loaf of bread, according to Shimon, right, his measurement of a loaf of bread is 12 eggs is a loaf of bread. So therefore, 6 eggs is enough. The amount of time it takes to eat 6 eggs is based on manuga. And according to Reb Shimon, 8 eggs, so half of that, 4 eggs. V'chati chetzia l'psula zakvia. Chatzi chetzia is 1/4. So 1/4 of 12 is 3 eggs, according to Yochanan Broka. And according to Reb Shimon, it's 1/4 of 8 eggs. That's two beitzim is a psula zakvia. If you eat a certain amount of tummy food, either abundant, you can't eat truma. The chatzi chetzia, the kabel tuma is ochlan. Now this is 1/8, so 1/8 of 12 eggs, according to Rabbi Yochanan Roka, is 1.5 beitzim, and according to Rabbi Shimon, we paskin like is 1 beitza. 1 beitza is the amount that is makabel tumas ochlan. It's the amount of food that is royal makabel tuma, right? Even though ochla is makabel tuma, it has to have at least a beya. It's the size of a base of makabel tuma. So, getting back to our Mishnah, Rabbi Yochanan Broka, Tmanai Havia. Rabbi Yochanan Broka says that a loaf of bread, right, consists of 2 meals, right, and each loaf of bread has 12 eggs. So each meal, the amount of bread for a meal is 6 eggs, which is 1/4 of a kav, right? She's getting 2 kavim of wheat, so she's getting 8 meals, right? 1/4 of a kav, that's 4 meals in a kav, and she's getting 2 kavim, so 8 meals. She only gets 8 meals. She needs at least 7 days. You're supposed to have 2 main meals a day. She needs 14. Shimon says no, that a meal is actually 1/9. It's actually 2/9. I'm sorry, 2/9. 2/9 of a kav. So 2/9 of a kav equals 18 meals. It's 2 kavim, so that's 18 meals. In each kav you'd have 9 meals. Sorry, it's 1/9, not 2/9. It's 1/9, so 1/9. So in each kav you'd have 1/9 of a kav. You'd have 9 meals, and 2 kavim have 18 meals. That's more. Lolam, more than she needs. Lolam Yochanan Broka. Really, Yochanan Amar Rav Chisda same hand shlish lechenveni. Now, when he said before, we're talking about Ervei Tchumen. We're talking about he said a certain amount. Right, normally the amount, a loaf is considered to be the amount of half a kav or 12 eggs. You split that in 2, so it's 6 eggs. That's the amount for 1 meal. But he was talking about, there's obviously a markup when the person sells you a loaf of bread. He's talking bread purchased from a store. If you have bread purchased from a store, so there's big markup over there. So he was talking about, he was including the markup. So really, the husband, when he gives it, he's giving out markup. So therefore, whatever he gives is going to be more. The husband's going to give in a kav is going to be more. So even though, according to Yochanan Broka, 1/4 of a kav is 1 meal, 6 eggs is 1 meal, that's only after the markup. But if there was no markup, so that's what he says. Same ahen, Rav Chisda says, same ahen shlish l'chenveni. So therefore, you get an extra third. So you get an extra. If you have 8, right? So 8 is divided into. Right, an extra third would be another 4, so it would be 12. So you have another third, so you add another third of 8, meaning a third of 8, calculating milvar on the outside, so it would be another 4. Still, you only have 12 meals. The Gemara says no, she eats with him Leili Shabbos on Friday night. She eats with him on Friday night, so that's third. So that's Shabbos meals. The Gemara says that makes sense if you say Achila Mamish. We're going to have a machlokas on in the next daf. What does achila mean? Literally to eat with him, and he provides for that. Elaman damar achila tashmish. Achila doesn't mean that she actually eats together with him. So all he does has to be with her conjugally. He has to have sex with her. My ikal and meimar. Oh, tleiser having. It's only he only eats their Friday night. Not of Shabbos day. It's only 13. Right? Elok damar Rav Chisda same ahead mechsel lechenveni. Rav Chisda had a different explanation. He says no, that the markup for a chenveni is not a third. It's actually a half. It's actually a half, double the price. Achanami asya palga v'shadi alayu. So you have 8, so you add on another 8, so now it's 16. First of all, the Gemara addresses, first Rav Chisda says the markup is a third, and then he says the markup is a half. So, or double. So 50%. So the Gemara says, Lokash, haba asri liyavi sivi, haba asri liyavi sivi. Right, in a place where the wholesalers give grain to them and they give wood to cook the grain, So then the markup is less because they don't have to charge as much. They're getting the wood for free. In a place where they don't give wood, so then they have to charge double basically because they have to provide their own wood. Yihaki shitzer have you. So what? You'll double. You'll have 16. Come on, who is this like shitzer? Come on, right? You have 12 during the week, and then on 4 on Shabbos, total is 16. You have to eat 4 meals during Shabbos, not just Shalasha. It's 4. Bechidka says in Mitzvah Shabbos. Whereas Avila Tema Rabbanan, you can even say that Rabbanan, right? And Dal Chadal Archi Aparcha. The reason you need 16 is because you need 12 during the week, 3 for the 3 meals of Shabbos, and the other one for the guests, the long-term guests and the short-term guests. Like Hash Das Lach, Rabbi Shimon. Once we're factoring in the Archi Aparcha, you can even say Rabbi Shimon, the Rabbanan Dal Tlas the Archi Aparcha, Rechilka Dal Tarti the Archi Aparcha. According to Shimon, you'd have 18 meals. So according to the Rabbanan, you take off 3 for the guests, and Rechilka you take off 2 for the guests, and you're left with 16. Amar Rabbi Yossi Lapazak Saorin. It sounds like in the Mishnah, only in Edom, exactly where Edom is, present day Edom, hard to figure out, maybe Jordan. Where exactly Edom is, not so clear, but it's around Israel somewhere. Only in Edom, they eat Seor and Bar, they don't eat anywhere else. He says, the Mishnah says you could either give her wheat or you give her barley. Rabbi Shmuel, the Gemara says Rabbi Shmuel is explaining the Mishnah. The only time you have to give her double the amount of wheat and barley is when you're giving her barley that's bad, right? Barley which comes from Edom, because the barley is very poor quality there, so you have to give her double of that barley instead of wheat. If you're giving a better barley, you don't have to give as much, corresponding to whatever the value of wheat would be, and you have to give a little extra barley. That's the conclusion of today's share. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for Ian. Ian with Ben Sion will talk more about this Mishnah, this very strange Mishnah. The man does not have to live with his wife. It is really true. See you in the next one. And Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.